The decisions they make influence sports in Arizona now and in the future. Every move they make is news. Doug and Wolf present Newsmakers Week 2014. Presented by National Bank of Arizona. Arizona Sports. Now on 98.7 FM.
Derrick Hall, team president and CEO of the Diamondbacks, joining Doug and Wolf here on Arizona Sports, now on 98.7 FM. The strongest union maybe in the history of the United States of America could be the Major League Baseball Players Association.
I agree. Yeah, they are tremendous.
And because of that, how can you get them to realize that they might even make more money if I shouldn't say the Brewers. I was thinking the Milwaukee Bucks, because the Brewers are spending crazy on stuff too. But if you get teams like Tampa Bay or like Pittsburgh from a few years ago, even they're moving up, to start spending more money, and namely the Houston Astros now, that as a whole the union will make more, even though you might lose some $40 million a year contracts. You'll get an awful lot more $7 million a year contracts. In other words, how can we calm the Dodgers down? Is the Players Association the only way?
Yeah, probably, because with your collective bargaining, that prevents us and prohibits us from having a salary cap. We do have a luxury tax. You could probably
Is that working?
To a certain extent. Yeah, you look at what the Yankees have tried to do to reset, to get back to a level where they can control that until Tanaka. But they're at least all thinking about it. And, I think that was a good start for us. I personally, I'm in a small to mid-sized market. I would love to see more control. I'd love to see a cap. I'd love to see more parity. However, there isn't, and we've also proven that you can win without having the highest salary and the highest payroll. The Dodgers, they won last year. They got hot the year before. Not so much. The Red Sox, when they went out and spent like crazy, they didn't win. They won last year by just tinkering a little bit after trading away all those players.
And dumping the salaries.
Yeah, and dumping the salaries. So it doesn't really it's not equated on how much you spend. It really isn't.
No, but you know what? It just drives me crazy because their margin for error is so much bigger.
No, that's so true, Wolf.
And that drives me nuts.
Well, with us in the Tanaka sweepstakes, and I told you guys this before, when we were bidding, and we were in it. Believe me, we were right there. But we were thinking, if we don't get him good, or if we get him good, if we don't get him great, because our margin for error is not as large as theirs. And if you're going to pay a guy a fifth or a sixth of your overall payroll, and he doesn't succeed, you're in trouble. That's a mistake you can't recover from.
There's the Michael Sam situation in the NFL is so different than I think anybody ever expected. I think a lot of people assumed the first homosexual to come out would be an established player, maybe not a star, but somebody who's been in 8 years, has maybe 2 or 3 years left, has already signed a contract. So I always thought it would be baseball because of a guaranteed contract and somebody later on in his career. To actually have this before the draft, what does it do for you guys? Did you guys have different talks? Have you always had conversations like this? How is this affecting other sports?
We've had these conversations for the last couple of years. What if? And the sad thing is, we keep coming back to, why is it today a distraction? And it is, but it shouldn't be a distraction. That's the thing. And I think in our clubhouse and our organization, we're very accepting. We don't tolerate any sort of discrimination whatsoever based on preference or race or religion, anything. And our guys feel the same way, and they didn't react any differently than they had before this. I'm shocked too, though. You're right, and what a courageous statement by this young man before the draft.
Yeah,
that shows even more how important and powerful it was for him to do what he did. Because he could have easily waited until after he was drafted, but he chose to do so beforehand.
And no discrimination against vegans, because I would have supported that.
Right. So if I came out and told you I was a vegan before I got this job.
Yeah.
We're talking to Derrick Hall, president and CEO of the Arizona Diamondbacks, here on Doug and Wolf. Derek Jeter. Your thoughts on Derek Jeter coming out and basically saying, you know what, this is it for me?
Yeah, it's a sad day for Major League Baseball, and this is a final year for him, and he's going to be celebrated even more so than Mariano was, and rightly so. He's one of the greatest players we've seen, at least in our time, probably the greatest player we've seen. And for one player to do it in one uniform all those years and to have such class and dignity throughout his entire career, I salute him.
And in that city with class and
dignity. Oh, tough place to play, and he's just loved. He's been the captain, and he he has been, you think about baseball, he's really been the face of baseball for the last 10-plus years, maybe even 14, 15 years. And it's tough for us to lose a star like that and to lose such a good role model. And it's a sad day for the Yankees, but even sadder, I think, for Major League Baseball when a player like that announces he's finished after the season.
Got to drive the Red Sox crazy that they're going to have back-to-back years
where they have to applaud the Yankees.
They did it for Rivera, and now I looked at the schedule after the announcement. They ended in Fenway.
Yeah, I know.
The Yankees ended Fenway.
I know they do, and you watch. The applause will be even bigger for him than it was for Rivera, and it should be. He's a class act, and he's been great for our game.
I hope he plays in that series. I get, Rivera was supposed to end the season in Houston, and I get what he said. I mean, you talk about a guy that has built up the cachet to end it however he wants.
Yeah.
But at the same time, those were still games for the Yankees.
No doubt.
And then with Fenway, I hope Derrick says, I could easily see him saying, I got to end at Yankee Stadium. I can't end it at Fenway.
I'm with you. I hope he plays there.
Yeah,
Doug, I do too, and I hope he's healthy all season long. I hope he can play all year long. And, I guess most people dislike the Yankees. You either love them or hate them, and you don't want them to make the postseason. But this would be a pretty good year for them to go to postseason play with Derek Jeter in his final season.
We talked about instant replay briefly. We talked about it briefly in the regard that you're going to be able to show them at Chase Field, of course. Talk about the implementation of it. And your expectations for it and whether or not you like it.
Yeah, it's all new camera angles. It's got to be quick. You're going to have an extra umpire. You're going to make your decision quickly. It's actually being reviewed back in New York, in a central hub back where MLB Advanced Media.
I love that.
I do too. Yeah, I do too. And we're going to use our own cameras. We can also use their angles to show up on video. But for me, I think it's about time. We have the technology. Let's get it right. Let's just not slow the game down. In this first year where you really only have one challenge, and if you get it right, you get to keep it. And then after the 7th inning, the crew chief can challenge any play, assuming that your manager's already used his challenge. It's going to grow. I think we're going to see. There are going to be a lot of kinks. And by the way, the 2 games in Australia, we will not have replay. Our first 2 games, there is no replay because the cameras are not there, the infrastructure's not there. So we will start Game 3 for us. But I think it's a good thing. It's good for the game. It's good for our fans. Get it right. You have the ability to get it right. Yeah. Get it right.
The one thing I support and am yet concerned about at the same time.
Well, you're a traditionalist.
Yes, I am. But I'm for replay because it's just been wrong for too long. I love how much judgment they're putting into replay, meaning, okay, it's a trap, but they ruled it an out, and the guy was on second, so he tried to go back and tag up. Well, would he have gone to third? And I love how they're saying, we're going to keep that open too. We're not going to give hard and fast rules of what happens after the bad call.
Yeah.
Yet I can see that being a major issue. So I'm sitting here telling you now, I admit, I support it. And then come May, there's going to be, what? How did he not get third? And I'll go nuts. But I support it. But how do we know? Is there any way to know what's going to happen in the after the bad call scenario?
No, too soon to tell. But you're right. And then the other one, I'll take that a step further. What's going to keep Kirk Gibson from going out after he's used his challenges and saying to the umpire, hey, you need to look at that? And he says, hey, you're out of challenges. And he says, I know, but you're going to look foolish if you don't go review that one. And,
or how long is the manager going to stall waiting for the New York to rule it?
So there's going to be a lot of that. I think it's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be great as the crowds get used to it too.
I just love the fact that it is going to be in New York and it's going to be centralized because I think that's important. You get – look, if you're sitting there in New York and you're getting all these instant replays, these shots coming into you, there's going to be a lot more consistency there.
Total consistency.
As opposed to somebody that subjectively right there,
that's right,
person by person is saying, well, I saw it this way. No, it's not going to be like that, which I think is really going to make it better.
It is consistent. The other thing it does, it takes the pressure off those umpires that are there. So as long as our crowd knows it wasn't them that made the final decision, it was made in New York, so you're not throwing your giveaway cushions onto the field, because it's actually happening in New York, not here.
And I think the umpires are going to love it because I think they're going to do a better job because they're going to know. I think they're going to be a little bit more relaxed in that situation.
I do too, and I think they'll be covered. They'll be a little more accountable. But after games, they'll even laugh and say, "Boy, did I blow that one?"
Yes.
Show some humility. Show that you're human, and do a better job.
Yep. And the other issue that I don't know if fans truly understand, it's not going to be the NFL or last year's Major League Baseball, where it's this dog and pony show of humans running into tunnels or into weird little booths and hiding for a while. It's as soon as the controversial play happens, New York's already on it.
That's right.
So they'll be reviewing it themselves. So if Gibby does throw the challenge, okay, great. Now it's already over. Well, we've already looked at it. Yeah, he was safe.
That's right.
Whatever it might be, you probably save maybe even as much as 15 minutes versus the old system of review.
And our head of game operations is on a headset hearing the same conversation taking place with the crew chief, the review umpire, and the people back in New York.
Number, then?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you love to be that?
Oh, it's great to sit there and listen to that. Yeah, but you're biting your tongue.
Hey, there's a revenue stream. There's a revenue
Absolutely.
stream.
You know the little NASCAR radios? You guys can have those. Time for the final question. What do you want Diamondbacks fans to know about the 2014 D-backs?
That this team is ready and focused, and I saw just a different look and feel yesterday in that first meeting. I mean, these guys are hungry, and they're saying all the right things. I'm telling you, they feel good about themselves. As we addressed the team, my point yesterday was on the first day of workouts in spring training, you got 30 teams that are all saying the same thing. Here we go. We got a great chance to win. Not true. The reality is there's only a handful of teams that can really win it all, and I think we're one of them. And I said to those guys, some of you are in here starting your careers. Some of you aren't going to be playing after this year, and that's sad to me if you've never been to a World Series. Let's get there. And I think these guys are ready to do so.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Great seeing you.
Thanks, guys.
Derrick Hall, team president, CEO of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Coming up next, is LeBron doing this just because he's great, just because he wants to win, because his team needed more without Dwayne Wade, or is there a secret reason, which is not pretty? That's next on Arizona Sports Now on 98.7 FM.
The decisions they make influence sports in Arizona now and in the future. Every move they make is news. Doug and Wolf present Newsmakers Week 2014. Presented by National Bank of Arizona. Arizona Sports Now on 98.7 FM.